Good evening, you're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Joanna Ho. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Hong Kong's courts may soon have to seek the chief executive's approval before admitting overseas lawyers in national security cases. Students and parent volunteers cook up a feast after their caterer suspends meal deliveries. And U.S. President Joe Biden makes a surprise visit to Ukraine ahead of an anniversary of the Russian invasion. The government is planning to amend the law so that the court must seek the chief executive's approval before admitting overseas lawyers in national security cases. The move came after the city's top court ruled that media mogul Jimmy Lai has the right to hire British barrister Tim Owen for his collusion trial. Macy Mock reports.
The tug-of-war continued between the government and Jimmy Lai on whether the Apple Daily founder could hire an overseas barrister for his national security trial. Lai made a move last Friday, requesting the government to declare that British barrister Tim Owen can still represent him to fight charges of colluding with foreign forces. A bid by the government to block Owen from representing Lai was dismissed by the top court. Chief Executive John Lee subsequently asked Beijing to interpret the national security law. The National People's Congress clarified that courts should obtain a certificate from the chief executive to decide whether overseas lawyers can take on national security cases. A stalemate followed, but now the government is finally acting on that advice. It plans to table an amendment bill to alter the legal practitioner's ordinance. The bill proposed that the court must request and obtain a certificate from the chief executive before admitting an overseas lawyer in any national security case. The chief executive will then decide on two things. One, according to the document, was whether the person's practicing or acting as a barrister for the case involves national security. The other is whether the barrister's involvement would be contrary to the interests of national security. The government plans to table the bill to the Legislative Council in the first and second quarter of this year. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Around 200 schools in Hong Kong had to devise emergency plans to feed their students today after their caterer suspended deliveries amid a food safety probe. A primary school in Tsing Yi employed parent volunteers to cook up a feast on site. Jenna Slow reports.
The home economics classroom at this primary school in Tsing Yi was bustling this morning. But instead of teaching, the room was used as a makeshift kitchen to produce around 200 lunch boxes. The initiative was led by around half a dozen students and 10 parent volunteers. Students were in charge of the main course, while the parents were responsible for cooking staple food and vegetables. Even the school's chancellor, Alice Chiu, decided to roll up her sleeves and join the team. The school and around 200 others were left to fend for themselves after their caterer, Luncheon Star, suspended deliveries for today and tomorrow amid a food poisoning investigation. The school was grateful to the parents who offered assistance, but admitted it cannot be a long-term solution. The chancellor said the school did not want to cause extra burden to the parents. Chiu also pledged to switch to another caterer after the current contract expires. While the cooking lasted just a few hours, the preparation beforehand took much longer. The parents began stocking up on food 2 days ago, going so far as to arrange food tasting sessions for the principal and teachers. This primary 6 pupil who helped prepare the meals admitted he has never cooked without the help of his family.
Doing
it on my own today gave me a greater sense of accomplishment, he said. When the food was ready, it was time to feed the students. Teachers delivered the lunch boxes to junior students, while their senior counterparts were asked to head to the playground to fetch the food themselves. Many students gave the meal a thumbs up too.
今日呢個好食。
This girl said the meal today tasted a lot better than the ones delivered from Lunch and Star. The caterer, a subsidiary of fast food chain Café de Coral, said it would thoroughly disinfect its kitchens and ensure all the meals are up to standard. The saga began when a few students from a Tunmun primary school became ill after having lunch at school. One of the students was even hospitalized. The school condemned the caterer and has set up a task force to follow up on food safety. Janice Low, HKIBC.
A think tank set up to assist the chief executive will cost taxpayers at least $130 million each year. That led lawmakers to question how the chief executive's policy unit can be evaluated for its performance. At a Legislative Council meeting, Unit Head Stephen Wong was asked if there would be key performance indicators for the team. He sidestepped the question, saying he and his 46 colleagues conduct research to help the government formulate policies, and the work is hard to quantify. Wong's deputy Hini Lam insisted the unit's annual budget is similar to that of the former Policy Innovation and Coordination Office, which advised then Chief Executive Carrie Lam. The Hospital Authority has discovered another 12 sets of faulty operating theatre lights after one fell from the ceiling at United Christian Hospital on Saturday. An anesthetic assistant was hit on the shoulder when the light collapsed, although no patient was inside the operating room. Authority Senior Manager Yun Pek Leung said a dozen more lights of the same kind were found with defective screws. He did not specify which public hospitals were affected, but stressed those operating theaters have been suspended from use. Urgent inspections on another 200 sets of lights from the same supplier will be carried out as soon as possible, Yun added. The Hong Kong search and rescue team, who spent 9 days in quick-hit Turkey, shared their memorable experiences, both good and bad. The rescuers did not want to be called heroes, insisting they were only being loyal to their duty.
4 days after the devastating earthquake in Turkey, the team of 59 Hong Kong rescuers arrived in Hatay, one of the hardest-hit provinces. Apart from live detectors and drones, the team also brought along 2 dogs, specially trained to sniff out people in the rubble. A major morale boost came on the second day when the team saved 3 survivors during an operation at a residential district. Commander Yu Mengyang recalled a moment that wrenched his heart. A father pleaded with us to look for his 2 missing children, saying he heard voices from the ruins of a 4-story building, he said. But the live detector couldn't pick up any signals, and Yu had to tell the father that there was no hope. Their mission, which had been highly publicized by the government, had drawn criticism that it was a publicity stunt. Asked why the group was able to take part in a flag-raising ceremony upon arrival, Yu explained that they were still awaiting for orders. Earlier today, Chief Executive John Lee treated the team to a lunch banquet at Government House. Also present were Deputy Chief Secretary Chek Wing-hing, Fire Services Director Andy Yeung, and Immigration Chief Ao-ka Wang. Lee praised the SAR Rescuers for showing the spirit of one country, 2 systems during the collaboration with their Chinese counterparts in Turkey.
Overseas, U.S. President Joe Biden made an unannounced visit to Ukraine today. In a gesture of solidarity before the 1-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of the country, Biden made a stopover in Kyiv before heading to Poland. He was received by President Volodymyr Zelensky and his wife. The U.S. president also announced an additional $500 million in aid to Ukraine. Zelensky said Biden's visit would have a reflection on the battlefield and expressed his gratitude for Washington's continued support. The diplomatic spat between China and the United States has moved away from the balloon to the war in Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused China of planning to supply weapons to Russia, a claim Beijing strongly denied. Sachin Kafi reports.
The meeting, which was intended to cool off tensions between the United States and China, left the two superpowers drifting further apart. Sino-US relations have gone more off course than the balloon itself after their latest squabble on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference. 2 days after sitting down with Beijing's top diplomat Wang Yi, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken revealed there were bigger issues at stake than the balloon incident.
We are concerned that China is considering supporting Russia's war effort in Ukraine with lethal assistance. There would be real consequences in our own relationship were China to provide lethal assistance to Russia in this aggression against Ukraine. I'm not going to lay out what the consequences would be. I shared these concerns directly with the senior Chinese foreign policy official Wang Yi when I saw him at the Munich Security Conference. But I think China understands what's at risk were it to proceed with providing material support of that kind to Russia. Many other countries would take very seriously the provision of such support by China to Russia, and this would be a real problem for China in its relationships with many other countries, not just the United States.
Wang had already rejected that claim in Munich, reiterating China remains neutral and is working on a new peace deal for Ukraine. He also met Ukraine's foreign minister at the conference and condemned the attack on nuclear power stations during the conflict.
停止甩锅推责，散播虚假信息。
In Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin also dismissed the accusations. He slammed Washington for spreading disinformation and fanning the flames. Sachin Katwe, HKIBC.
Hong Kong stocks started the week with healthy gains in line with a rally across most of Asia. The recovery of the mainland economy saw the Hang Seng Index close 0.8% higher. China Telecom was up 3.8% after the network provider said it is developing an artificial intelligence-powered chatbot similar to ChatGPT. Xinyi Glass surged 7% after data revealed that returns on capital have increased 24% over the last 5 years. Shares of Lenovo jumped 4.7%, following reports that the computer giant is considering layoffs to cut costs. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed up 167 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tracker Fund was up 12 cents, Tencent was up $3.20. China Mobile up $1.75, BYD Company down 60 cents. To the forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, euros at 8.36, pounds at 9.41, and Australian dollar at 5.4. Over to the UK market, FTSE 100 is down 2 points. On to the weather now. Mainly fine and dry tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 17 and 20 degrees. Similar conditions in the coming days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Monday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Joanna Ho. Thanks for watching. Good night.